Welcome to PSG of Mercer County. Alan Kirshner, I'm one of the people on the executive board. In the spirit of baseball on opening day the other day, I'm pinch hitting for David. He's away, so I'll be taking over for the meeting. So wanted to wish everybody a happy Aloha Friday. I don't have a Hawaiian shirt, so this is the closest I could get to that. And wanted to mention that it's Happy National Empanada Day also. Empanada Day is a day that recognizes that delicious Spanish pastry that comes in a number of different fillings. So PSG is a group, as you probably well know, all that have been here, that we're here for you. We try to help you make your job search more effective and more efficient. We have a lot of tools and resources. One of them is our website, psgofmercercounty.org, and we have 120 pages of content that includes links to job postings in the 6 border counties around our general area. And also we have professional development links. We are up to now 84 links. So if you're looking to get professional development, there's links of all different types. Some of them are free, some of them have a fee, but that's a good thing to do when you're in job search, to always be learning and increasing your skill set. It's a nice thing to tell potential employers that that's what you're doing. During your job search, you've been taking classes and getting more training. So that's a great thing to add to your repertoire. We also have a number of different topics about getting started, working as a consultant, starting a business. They're not the end all and be all of those topics, but it'll kind of give you a jump start to get involved with some of those things that you might be interested in. And another thing we have is our LinkedIn group, and that's also PSG of Mercer County. We have about 1,700 people now. They're in the LinkedIn group. It's a semi-private group because you have to attend either a virtual or an in-person meeting in the past in order to be accepted into the group. And it's very helpful for a couple of reasons. One, you can post things that might be helpful to other people. If you see jobs that are not applicable to you that you think might be interested for somebody else in the group, you can post that. And also you can share information, articles about job search or topics related to job search that might be helpful for other people. So it's really a good idea to get active on LinkedIn, and this is a way of doing it by posting and commenting on posts. So that'll move you up in the rankings of LinkedIn as far as your visibility when recruiters are looking for you. So it's a good idea. It's a good way to get started with moving into the foray of being involved in LinkedIn. So wanted to go over just a couple of ground rules before I turn the meeting over to our guest speaker. Thank you everybody for keeping your microphones on mute. Like we've been doing in the past, we're going to use the chat when you have questions. So what you can do is type in the word question, and that'll be a cue. I'll be monitoring the chat. And if you want to ask the question, I'll call on you and then you can unmic and ask the question. If you don't want to do it that way and you just want to type in the question, then you can do that as well. Again, type in the word question first and then your question, and I'll read those out to our guest speaker. So that's worked out well in the past, and I'm sure this is going to be a very interactive presentation. So thank you for those ground rules. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our guest speaker for today. PSG of Mercer County is very pleased to welcome coach and business development consultant, Joey Himelfarb. Joey's an experienced motivator and salesperson. He has professional experience across a range of industries, including high tech, automotive, and training and development. Joey studied physics and mechanical engineering and began his career working on the installation of transoceanic fiber optic telecommunications cables around the world. He now uses his problem-solving techniques to help professionals At all levels, maintain a positive attitude and an optimistic approach. His Mojo coaching services focuses on helping people be their best. PSG of Mercer County is pleased to welcome one of our very good friends, Joey Himelfarb.
Thanks, Alan. Can't wait to hear what I have to say. Appreciate everybody being here. Good morning. Hopefully everybody is safe and sound. I'm going to make this a interactive presentation, if I will. I know Alan said that you can write questions in the chat box, but feel free to pretend we're in a classroom, and if you want to interrupt me at any time in the presentation, don't have to wait for the end of a section or the end of a chapter or the end of the presentation. Let's make this interactive. I don't want to sit here and preach to you. It's not my intent, but I do want to share with you my thoughts on visualization and how it could possibly help you see yourself in your next job. And I've been in sales for 25, 30 years, so I do this all the time, and I was hoping I could share these things with you. So without further ado, let me move on to the next screen. Can you all see my screen? Everybody can see my screen, I'm hoping? Okay, so visualization is just the ability to imagine things. And the challenge is that there are two philosophies when it comes to visualization. And I'm going to go over them with you right now. So number one, the first philosophy about visualization is that people will have the concept that, or the feeling that I will believe it when I see it, so then I'll wait for it to appear, okay, and then to prove that it exists. What's the problem with that philosophy? What's the inherent issue that could go wrong? Not wrong, but what's not going to work right in that with that philosophy if you're waiting for something to appear so that you can actually believe it? Anybody?
It sounds pretty passive to me.
It's totally passive. Anybody else?
It may or may not happen.
Right.
Because you're just waiting for it.
Yeah, you're waiting for it. You're waiting and you're waiting and you're waiting. It may never happen. It may never happen, and that's a challenge. And so that's the bad part of that philosophy. The other philosophy that I think is a little bit more.
Excuse me, before you go on, I was going to say, doesn't the first philosophy have something to do with kind of how you feel about yourself? You don't want to move on until what you're looking to move on to has been created, even though you're the one who really has to create it.
Kind of, yeah. If you sit around, waiting for somebody to knock on your door to hand you a job, in this group right here, raise your hand. How many of you think that's going to happen? It's not going to happen. It's not 1950. They're not knocking on our doors. All right, we got to go find them. We got to make it happen, right? And that is the idea about the second philosophy, and that is that if you see it and believe it, then you can act as if it's real, and then you can make it happen. So what was reactive or passive now becomes proactive and active. So that if you see something, if you can visualize it, and then you can believe in it, then you can act as if it's actually happening and if it's real, and then you can make it happen. And that's the gist of this conversation. That's the gist of what I'm trying to convince you with. And that's my point, is that when we're all said and done, is that you can think yourself into a job, I think, as long as you see yourself in that job. Because if you don't, it's going to be a challenge. Okay? So, spoiler alert. The things that we think about compared to the things that are real are not the same. Your brain sometimes cannot distinguish between what is real and what's imagined. And again, that's the gist of this conversation. And it's important that it's important that I help you understand that, because I think that's critical to this whole discussion about visualization and helping you see yourself in your job. All right? How are we doing? All right, am I in the right place? Are you guys in the right place? We're talking about the right thing here, right? I hope.
You are.
Okay, good. So Here's what we're going to talk about in the next hour or so, give or take. All right. We're going to talk about visualization concepts. We're going to talk about thoughts and things, but what's in between, which is really important. Going to share with you some tools and techniques that I've learned over the years by myself and from learning from others as well. They're going to share with you a couple of recommended views that I'd like you to think about moving forward. All right. And again, please, let's make this interactive. Don't let me just sit here and talk to you. So a couple of visualization exercises. I'm going to leave the screen blank, so because I don't want to mess up your visualization. But let me ask you this, folks. If I told you not to think about a pink elephant, how easy do you think that would be for you to not think about a pink elephant? Karen's smiling and shaking her head, right? It's impossible. If I plant that seed in your head and tell you don't think about a pink elephant, you're going to be thinking about a pink elephant. I mean, this is what separates us from the animals of the world. No pun intended, right? We can think, we can visualize, right? We can imagine something that doesn't exist, right? I've never seen a pink elephant. I don't think they exist, right? I've also never seen $1 million, but I know that exists, okay? So you've got to be creative. You got to open up your mind, and you've got to be able to imagine your future. You got to be able to imagine, and that's what I think it was Einstein who said, imagination is the preview to your future, right? Imagine what could be. Don't wallow in what is. Imagine what could be. All right. So let's put the. I'm sorry.
I have one question about that. You were saying, well, if someone tells you not to think about a pink elephant, it's impossible to not think about it. I agree in that sense. But if someone tells you, at least this is how I've reacted, and I don't know if it's not normal, that I don't have the capability of doing a particular thing, my immediate reaction is, who the F are you to tell me that I can't accomplish that? You know, and I don't know if that's visual, you know, I'm flipping what they're telling me. And instead of saying, okay, I can't do it because they told me I can't, I'm flipping it around going, what do you know about me to tell me that I can't do that?
You're right on, Michael. Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, what other people think of you is none of your business, right? Go about your day doing what you think is right for you, because at the end of the day, it's you're the one who has to live with the decisions you made or did not make. And you can't base your life on what other people want you to do. A lot of times when you start going out on a limb and start taking chances and doing things you've never done before, people around you, God bless them, family and friends, may stop you or discourage you from doing that. Some people would argue that it's discouraging you from doing that because they don't want to do it. And if you do it, now they're going to have to do it. Or if you do it and you succeed and they haven't, you make them look bad. So you got to be careful, and you're right. You got to be careful what people say to you. Sometimes you got to block it out. Sometimes you can. Sometimes you can't. We're not machines. We're human beings. It's a challenge, but it takes a little bit of discipline, sometimes a lot, and you have to make an effort. It just doesn't happen, right? You've got to make it happen. All right. So thank you. That's a good point. Anybody else? As long as we're talking about this. Okay. So let's make this a little bit more fun, I hope, and a little bit more concrete. I want you all to close your eyes, if you will. We're going to do about maybe 2 minute, not even a 2-minute exercise, all right? I want you to imagine sitting in front of you. Please keep your eyes closed. I'm going to talk you through this exercise. Imagine on the table in front of you is an apple and a napkin. And you're looking at that apple, and it's shiny, and it's colorful, and it's obviously red. And you know that. And you all know what red looks like, okay? Now, I want you to take that apple and feel the skin. Maybe it's a little rough, probably not, it's probably smooth, okay? I want you to bring that apple up to your nose and smell it. If you can smell what that apple smells like, maybe it's a Macintosh, maybe it's a Red Delicious apple, maybe it's a Granny Smith, whatever the case may be, take that apple and smell it, all right? Now, with your dominant hand, take your thumb and put it on the stem of the apple, and then take your index finger and your middle finger and wrap it near the bottom of the apple, okay? And then I want you to very slowly bring it up to your mouth, put it onto your teeth, and very slowly chomp onto the apple. Hear your teeth breaking the skin of the apple, and then I want you to feel those juices from the apple possibly either rubbing on your lips, coming down your chin, maybe coming all over your hands, maybe spilling onto your lap. Wherever those juices from that apple are flowing, there they go. You can't stop them. Okay? Now, open your eyes. Is there an apple in front of you? Are your fingers wet? Is your mouth dripping from the juice of an apple? Probably not. But the scientists will tell you that by thinking about and visualizing in your mind and using all of your senses as much as you possibly can, and just so you know, we used all our senses. I had you hear your teeth biting into the apple skin. I had you looking at the apple skin. I had you smelling the apple. I had you tasting the apple, right? Using all of your senses to imagine this object, okay, this thing, you could create it in your mind, assuming you are willing to do that, okay? I'm hoping that this type of exercise, as we move forward, will help you see that while you can also visualize this apple on the table in front of you, you can also visualize your dream job. You can do that. And you don't have to let anybody tell you, Michael included, you can't do that. All right. So if you've been an accountant all these years and you want to be a graphic design artist, nobody's stopping you, only you. All right. If you've been a lawyer all your life and you really want to be a scuba diver instructor, you can do that. But people will tell you, what are you, crazy? You're not going to make as much money. You're not going to be able to wear a suit and tie. Well, for me, that's a benefit right there. But you don't have to worry about what you did to do what you want to do. You just got to imagine what you want. And that's again, the gist of this conversation. Okay? So far, so good. Are everybody with me? Everybody wipe your hands now. Get that juice off your skin. All right? So there's your pink elephant. And we're going to get into some now ideas about what I talked about, thoughts and things. So for example, let's talk about here. Here's a bunch of things on your screen. See shoes, sunglasses, a pocketbook, t-shirt, there's a watch, a camera. Let me ask you folks, where did these things come from? Anybody? Where did these things come from?
It's a picture from the internet.
Okay, but what? Thank you. Let's not be that literal. Where did the shoes come from?
These are some of our own personal items.
Okay. Where did these items come from? How were they created? They grow on trees?
They were made by someone.
Somebody made them. How'd they know how to make them?
They used their imagination.
Right. Somebody in the fashion industry thought about what a pair of shoes could look like, thought about what a pair of sunglasses could look like, thought about what a belt would look like, thought about what a t-shirt would look like, feel like, smell like, right? Thought about all these things. Thoughts become things, but it doesn't just happen, right? You got to do something. You can't just think. I can't think about $1 million and think that it's going to show up on my lap. I got to do something to create that $1 million, okay? So let's look at this. Let's talk about here. Here's a whole bunch of fruits and vegetables. Where did these fruits and vegetables come from?
From the farm.
Someone planted a seed.
From the ground, from the farm. But it's taking somebody, maybe a chef, to put the right foods in the right combination, in the right quantities, in the right dish to create a salad, right? Somebody had to think that through. It doesn't just happen. You don't just create a salad. You got to think about it, right? There's a difference between wisdom and knowledge, right? So I read this. The difference between wisdom and knowledge is this. Knowledge is knowing that a tomato could be a fruit, could be a vegetable. Typically, it could be one or the other, but typically people think of tomatoes as fruits. Wisdom is knowing not to put that tomato in a fruit salad, right? Nobody does that, but somebody thinks about it and they don't do it, okay? So fashion industry, the culinary industry, here's another industry. Look at the skyline of New York City, all those buildings. Where did those buildings come from? They didn't
Somebody's
just
mind that designed it.
somebody's mind, exactly. Some architect years ago, decades ago, put on paper an idea for what a building should look like. And lo and behold, buildings become. So it's one thing to think and visualize and imagine, and you should do that as much as you possibly can. But it's a fallacy to think that you can get the job you want and then sit on your couch and wait for that job to show up. It doesn't work that way. And you know that, right? Otherwise you wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be having this conversation. You got to put in an effort and you got to do the work to get that thing to happen. And that's, again, part of this conversation, right? So, but for me, when I think about something that's being created because somebody thought about it, I'm going to share with you this idea. There is this monument that's been erected out of North Carolina. It's about 60, 70 feet tall. And on the base of that monument is a saying, and it has something to do with the effect through dauntless resolution and unconquerable faith. These two people did something that they thought about. They thought about this with their brains and their minds, and they created an industry. And because of their creation, when this occurred in North Carolina, they've erected this monument on their behalf. Does anybody know who these two people are that I'm talking about, or what the industry might be that I'm referring to?
Wright Brothers.
The Wright Brothers. The Wright Brothers. All right, very good. The Wright Brothers. By the way, this is the instant that their plane took off. Okay, the Wright Brothers conquered air. That's what's on the bottom of this monument. The Wright Brothers conquered air, conceived by genius through dauntless resolution and unconquerable faith. Now, I'm not suggesting, and they created an industry as a result of their thinking about getting man off the ground. Right now, I'm not suggesting that you looking for work is similar to creating an industry, but these two men who were bicycle mechanics created this industry because they thought about something and they just used their imagination. Okay, so I'm trying to get you to see that things don't just happen. You got to put in the work. And by the way, this picture that you're seeing here, this is the result of years of trial and error, years of mistakes, years of crashes. So this didn't just happen. And just by the way, as an aside, the initial flight that's recorded here was about 120 feet above in the air. That's shorter than the wingspan of a 747, which I think is kind of cool. Anyway, okay, so let me move on and share with you a couple of other examples of people that use their imagination and some of the achievements that they've created. All right, so in 1961, President Kennedy challenged our nation and he said, I believe this nation, remember that? Back in 1961, he challenged us to go to the moon, send men to the moon and bring them back before the decade was out. Well, with a couple of months to spare in 1969, we did that. We sent men to the moon. They hung out for a couple of hours and they came back. In 1961, that was a dream. That was a vision. That didn't just happen. A lot of people put in a lot of hours to make that occur. Okay, that was 1969. Later in 1969, another American wasn't as earth-shattering as a statement that President Kennedy made, but this particular quarterback said, I think we're going to win the Super Bowl. In fact, I know we're going to win the Super Bowl. And in fact, in 1969, Joe Namath and the Jets won the Super Bowl. Again, nobody would have ever envisioned it. It had never happened before. It was just a thought in somebody's mind, but he said, this is what we're going to do. And they did the work and they won the Super Bowl. Not a bad accomplishment. 1985, a famous comedian wrote a check to himself for $10 million and post-dated it 10 years. He had 10 years to make $10 million for services rendered. Do you know who I'm talking about? Anybody?
No.
Jim
Jay
Carrey.
Leno.
Jim
Jim
Carrey.
Carrey. Jim Carrey in 1985 was very poor, had a very poor family, was out in LA, went up into the mountains, looked out over the city and said, I'm going to write myself a check for $10 million for services rendered, and I'm going to be a famous movie star. And sure enough, within 10 years, he signed the rights, not the rights, the contract for Ace Ventura, and then Dumb and Dumber, and he made $10 million off those movies because he put on paper a thought and a vision, and he imagined his future. He imagined, this is where I'm going to be, and this is how I'm going to do it. Okay, so some examples, again, not as earth-shattering as you finding your next job, but it's the same concept. It's the same MO. It's creating your future based on where you are today and where you want to be tomorrow, and being as, and you know, in Jim Carrey's case, using all of his senses, right? Having a piece of paper that he used to put in his pocket, okay, and writing it all out, seeing the city in front of him where he was going to create or become this famous movie star. All right. So no reason you can't do the same for looking for work. It's going to take a little effort. I'm going to show you how to do that, hopefully, in the next few minutes. But it's something to think about. Let me take a break. Anybody, any comments?
Joey, I have one
Please.
comment. I mean, one thing, and you touched upon it, but I think it applies to all of us, how many years it took the Wright brothers to get to where they were. You're going to fail more than you succeed. And that's something that even if you work for a company, a lot of people don't understand. They'll criticize you for your failures, but they won't praise you as much for your successes, because they expect success. A lot of people expect success all the time, when the road to success has a lot of failures on it before you get there.
Absolutely. Thank you, Michael. They say that every overnight success took 20 years to get there. So yes, you're right. You have to fail. You're going to fail. You have to fail. Just count on it, right? And I have a whole nother presentation about that as well. But you know, that's, yeah, you're going to make mistakes, because here's the thing. If you don't do anything, right? I used to coach soccer with my children who are now in their 30s and 20s, late 20s, early 30s. And them and their friends have heard this since ad infinitum, right? On the soccer pitch, there's no guarantee if you shoot, you score. No guarantee. I guarantee you don't shoot, you won't score. So you got to take chances. You gotta shoot the ball. Baseball, Alan talked about baseball opening season, right? You want to steal second base, you got to get off first. You can't stand on first base and think you're going to steal second. It doesn't work that way. Nobody's figured that out yet, right? You want to steal second, you got to get off first. You got to take a chance. You got to break out of your comfort zone. You got to take a chance. What's the worst that could happen, right? What's the best that could happen? And you got to think along those lines. That's how you stay centered. I hope, I think. Any other thoughts, comments? Okay.
Just a thought.
Sorry.
Sorry, I was just going to say that, you know, if you are the one who's setting the goal, and you know, typically, like you said, it takes 10 to 20 years to reach that goal. I think every milestone that you have along the way, you know, we should congratulate ourselves instead of waiting for somebody else to congratulate us. And I think that's kind of the motivation to reach that goal. Absolutely.
Thank you. Who's that? Rena? Was that you, Rena?
Yes.
Yes, that's absolutely correct. Yes, you're not gonna. You're not. I don't know if it was Martin Luther King or Muhammad Ali, right? You look at the staircase, and you can look at the whole staircase, right? It's there in front of you, right? But you know it's there, but just take the first step. Just take the first step, right? And if you take enough steps, you'll get to the top. Same thing if you're driving cross country, or even if you're driving at night across town, right? Your headlights can only see you can only see maybe 100 feet in front of you, right? You know where you're going. You have an idea what the direction you need to be heading, right? You only see 100 feet in front of you. So just see as far as your headlights will take you, get 100 feet, and then go another 100 feet, and then another 100 feet, and eventually you'll get to your destination. Sometimes it takes 10 minutes. Sometimes it takes 10 weeks. Sometimes it takes 10 months. Who are we to know I don't know what the future holds, right? If I did, I wouldn't be here right now, right? I'd be in other places, but you can create your future, though. You can imagine what it could be, and you can work towards that imagination and that vision. And that's what I'm hopefully sharing you with some of these examples, is that, again, I'm not saying you're President Kennedy. I'm not saying you're the Wright brothers. but there's no difference between what they did and what you could do, or me. Same well. Somebody remind me to tell you my story about HP before we're done. Okay. Let me move forward. Let's see. Couple of tools now and techniques that it's possible that some of these visionaries have used. Possible in some way, shape, or form. I'm going to go through a couple of them. First one is affirmations, which is literally just speaking to yourself in the present tense about something that you have, something that you want, something that you are, something that you're doing, something that you possess in the present tense right now. Because if you say something like, I will be employed, then what you're telling your mind is that right now you're not. So you want to get out of that mode of thinking down the road, although I want you thinking down the road, but right now, in this moment in time, in the present, I want you to think that you are, for example, the best, right? And my kids, again, soccer players, athletes, volleyball, baseball, football, swimming, whenever they had an event, whenever they had to go to a match or a game, I would send them a text, and I had it saved on my phone, and it was KP. I would type KP, and up would come this statement, if you will, this affirmation. Keep repeating to yourself, I am the best, I am the best, and then one day you will be. So I'd send them the text before a swim meet or a soccer match, whatever, and then they text back and they go, Dad, stop with the stupid text. We've had it. So I'd send it again, right? I mean, any self-respecting father would do that. And so I'd send it again, and I would just batter them, for lack of a better word, with this affirmation, right? And what have I got to lose, right? So lo and behold, one day it's 2012. My little boy's in high school, and I see on the driveway the newspaper, and lo and behold, there he is on the front page of the sports section. He's the Hillsborough Senior Volleyball Player of the Year. He comes home. Of course, he knows he did this because he had to be interviewed and photographed. And I says, Josh, what the hell happened here? He says, oh, yeah, no big deal. I said, what do you mean no big deal? Yeah, I said, how do you think this happened? He says, I don't know. I'll tell you. I'm not saying that me pumping him with that affirmation gave him this accolade. I'm not gonna go that far, but I'll tell you this. I could have been telling him these things. Josh, you know you're not the tallest kid on the team, because he wasn't. You're not the strongest kid on the team, because he wasn't. He didn't hit the ball very hard like other kids did more than him. I said, you're not the quickest, because he wasn't, right? And again, you're certainly not the tallest, because he wasn't. I could have told him all those things, right? I could have told all the things he wasn't. Instead, I said, Josh, just keep thinking you're the best. And boom, right? So that was 2012. Again, I've been battering my kids with this since the day they were born, practically. 2012, I see this. In 2022, a few weeks ago, my son is going for make a presentation in front of his executive team, and he's got to talk about himself in a good light. And I typically would have sent him this text, right? But here's what he sent me. I thought this was the best. He writes me, he says, I'm the best, beat you to it. This is the point, right? You got to think that you're the best. You got to think that you're the knight in shining armor, that you are the reason that they need you. Right? You just haven't found them yet, right? And they're out there and they're waiting for you. You just haven't found you, because luckily you're not sitting on the couch. Maybe you are. If you are, that's why you haven't been found. Okay? So affirmations in the present, positive, upbeat. What do you want? What do you want to have? What do you want to do? What do you want to be? Okay? Well, that's one tool that you can use to help you envision your future, if you will. Okay? Here's another way to think about creating your future, right? Anybody know what this is? What this is a picture of?
Horoscopes?
Yeah, this is the zodiac. These are the 12 signs of the zodiac. And I don't know who writes them. I guess it's astrologers based on your birth date and the position of the sun and the moon and Mars and all the different planets, right? And so, but people can write in prose about your life based on the day you were born and where the sun was in relation to where you were born. And if you read horoscopes, you'll say things like this: until the sun enters your sign on the 20th, keep a low profile, right? Now all these different, I don't know how to describe them. Don't do these things, right? Be careful, cut back on wasteful spending, right? So as I'm reading these horoscopes, and if you're excuse me, if you're into horoscopes, God bless you. I'm not, but that's me. I'm a scientist. So, but if you're into it, that's great. But I'm reading these horoscopes. I'm thinking to myself, I got to read what somebody wrote in a newspaper to help me decide my future. I don't think so. I have a better idea. Okay. I'm going to create my future, and I'm going to write my horoscope, and I'm going to write things like, I am their knight in shining armor, right? I'm going to write all these different things. This month is filled with positivity, right? I am kicking butt in this interview. I'm going to think about these things in preparation before, during, and after my job search, right? All these things. I'm grateful, right? All these different. I invite miracles. I am the best, right? I am in charge of my future, as Michael was saying before. I'm not letting somebody else get in my way. I'm not letting somebody else hold me back. If anybody's going to hold me back, it's me. It's nobody else. I'm responsible for my future. Okay. So I suggest you become your own astrologer, and you write your future. You create your future. You can do it. I think you can. I can. We all can. Right. That's the thing. We all can create our future. Okay. Along those lines, another tool or technique that you can use is role playing. I'm sure you've heard about this, right? Nobody, please, nobody on this call, nobody, do not go into an interview if you're lucky enough to get an interview and wing it, right? Because if you wing it, you'll get your wings clipped. Do not wing an interview. And I know you all know this, but for the one person out there who won't raise their hand and won't admit to it, right? You got to practice. You got to practice the questions. You got to practice hearing the questions that they're going to ask you. You got to practice reciting the answers that you would give. You got to make mistakes. You got to do something like this. You got to be in a situation where you pick somebody to be the hiring manager, and you tell them what they should ask you because you think these questions are going to be asked in the interview. And then you need to practice responding to those questions. And you need to ideally videotape this, and watch not only how you behave in terms of your nonverbal communications, but listen to what you say and how you respond, right? And pick out the words that you think make no sense, trash them and get rid of them, don't use them again. But the things that you say that make sense, or the concepts that you share that are ideal for an interview, keep them in your mind and then use them when the time comes, okay? Think about that. Athletes do that all the time, right? You watch an athlete step up to the free throw line before he or she is about to take a free throw. Sometimes they'll stand there, they'll close their eyes, and they'll go like this, and they've been doing this, they do this all the time in practice, because when it comes game time, they don't want to have to think about it, right? They want to use the memory muscle and close their eyes. In fact, they won't even do it. If they could do it, they could close their eyes and do it, right? So that's no different from you practicing for an interview, okay? I tell people, envision that somewhere in the interview, that hiring manager is going to say, hold on a second, Michael, I got to make a phone call. Calls up his admin, and he says to the admin, all those people that were scheduled to come in after Michael, just call them right now and cancel, because our knight in shining armor is sitting right here in front of us, and he's our guy. And I tell people to think that. Now, people push back at me and they go, why would I do that, Joey? I go, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you think that you're the knight in shining armor? Why wouldn't you think that? You don't have to share it, just think it, right? If you think it, it might happen. I don't know, it might. If you don't think it, it probably won't. So you might as well think good things. You might as well think you are the knight in shining armor, right? And just to include everybody here, even women, right? There's no reason you can't envision yourself as their knight in shining armor, that you're the answer to their prayers, that you want them to say to you effectively, where have you been? Under what rock have you been hiding? Why has it taken us so long to get to meet each other? And when can you start? You should be envisioning that conversation in that interview. That's what should be motivating you. Anything less, I think, is going to be hurtful and discouraging. And you don't need to be discouraged in an interview. You've got an hour at most to put on your best light. Now's the time to do it. Okay? Let me take a break. Any thoughts? Because we have more tools and techniques I want to share with you. I just want to take a break. Any ideas? Any thoughts? Any comments?
It's very helpful. Very helpful. Very helpful.
Yes, Joey, I'd like to share a story
Please.
about a very famous person about motivation. And the guy that your discussion is bringing to my mind is known to everybody, and that's the famous worldwide former bodybuilder Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I've heard of him.
And I read a story about him and what he did while he was working out, doing all these different exercises over a course of months and years to reach his eventual goal, which was to be #1 in the world in bodybuilding.
Right.
What he did was he told himself when he was exercising that every single repetition of every exercise was getting him closer and closer to his goal. He was like constantly thinking about how he's getting closer and how he's getting closer. And I just thought that was kind of the ultimate example of how you continue to, quote unquote, pump yourself up to stay on track and get where you want to go.
It's the milestones that you're keeping track of. There's along those lines. I forgot the woman's name. The MMA boxer. I forgot Ronda. I think her name was. Maybe somebody knows on here. I don't remember her name. But what's that?
Rousey?
Yes. I
Rousey?
read an article about her. She would, after every practice session, you know how they tape their hands with tape? She would undo the tape, and it'd be a big ball of tape. She'd roll it all up, and she'd write the number of the practice session on it, and she'd throw it in a bin. And over the course of months, imagine you do these sessions every day, maybe twice a day. Mm-hmm. This bin is filling up with these balls of tape that are a reminder to her, a visual reminder of how many days she's practiced to get to where she's going. Similar to what you discussed, what you shared, Gary, about Arnold, right? It's a visual reminder, right? I think it's fabulous, right? Role play, practice. You're in a non-hostile environment. You're with friends. You're encouraged to make mistakes. You're encouraged to fail. You're encouraged to flub, so that, again, baseball, I'm going to bring it up again because it's in everybody's mind, right? You watch these athletes on a baseball field turn a double play between the shortstop and the second baseman and the first baseman, and you watch it's bang, 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 and it's like it's flawless. The reason it's flawless is because we've been sitting at home doing whatever we want to do, but those guys, since they were 5 years old, have been practicing those plays. They've been practicing ground ball to second, shortstop runs over to second base, second baseman throws the ball to second base, not the shortstop, to second base. The shortstop's got to make it to second base to get the ball to throw it to the first baseman. I mean, they do this all the time. They practice and they make mistakes and they mess up. But when it's showtime and they're on national television and the game is on the line, bang, bang, bang. They're professionals making gazillion dollars a minute, and we're sitting there drinking beer and eating Doritos, watching them. It's not, they practiced. They practiced. We didn't. Okay? Role play. Be their knight in shining armor. Okay? Let's continue. Sorry. Back to sports. If you see it and believe it and act as if. How many of you watch the news? Anybody? Let me see, show of hands. Everybody watches the news, right? Okay. I don't watch the news. It's too much misery, too much negativity, too much downtrodden stuff. I read newspapers, or I'll watch sporting events, especially newspapers, because I want to read about the winners and what made them win, how they got to where how they were able to achieve their accomplishments, right? Reading about people like Arnold, right? Reading about athletes who had to deal with a lot of pain, suffering, anguish, sacrifice, but to get to where they want to be to win their ultimate goals, right? So I read newspapers and I save these articles. Let me share with you a couple of them. So here's one. This is from a couple years ago. This was the Orange Bowl when West Virginia beat Clemson. And there's a quote there in the middle of the page where one of the players said, "I always envision making great plays. If you think it will happen, it will happen." Bingo, right? This is what I'm talking about, right? You got to assume that what you're doing is something that can be done, right? Here's another one. This is recently in a local high school, right? This girl helped her team win a championship. She pretended like it was me in the gym practicing. It was like I said, she pretended to be playing basketball. She pretended to be taking free throws, right? Pretend as if, act as if, right? Let's see, what else did I share with you? Here's one. This is from last year. The God bless the Mets, right? God bless the Mets, right? But right, spring training, right? In spring training, what do they say here? You got to practice as if you're going to win the championship, right? Have a vision, make it a goal, and then turn it into reality. In training camps, whether it's football or baseball or whatever the case may be, first day of camp, the coaches tell the players, what are we here for? What are they there for? What are they there to do? What's the point of being in this sport and going through this whole season? What are they trying to accomplish? What is the coach telling the team?
Win the championship.
We're going to win the championship, right? Not going to the championship, we're going to win it. So everything from now until the day we hoist that trophy, right? Like Joe Namath did in 1969. Every drill we run, every practice we have, every meal you eat is so that when the season is over and we raise the trophy, we're the ones raising the trophy. Okay? That make sense? Everybody buy that? Okay. I hope so. This is critical, I think. All right. So we're getting to the nitty gritty, and this is the whole thing about vision boards, right? Is creating your future, right? You have got to create your future. Is anybody familiar with the concept of vision boards? Have you heard of them? Right. So it's you put on a piece of paper or a piece of cardboard or whatever, a poster board, pictures and text and ideas about what you envision for yourself, right? The house you want to live in, the car you want to drive, the relationship you want to have, the job you want to have, the job you want to have, right? The job you want to have. You can't not have the job you want to have until you have envisioned it in your mind and what it is. So you got to create this job, if you will, that's going to help you get from where you are to where you want to be. And so that's what I want to share with you right now. For me, I think one of the most important things that we can do as job seekers is to focus our attention and get rid of all of the peripheral stuff that's going on around us, and stop reading all the jokes of the day, and stop looking at the cat videos that your friends are sending you, and hone in on and focus on your dream job. Okay? So now, back in 4th grade, they taught us how to write an article for the newspaper: who, what, why, when, where, and how. Same thing with your dream job. I want you to think about those different concepts, or those different questions, if you will, about your dream job. And the reason we're doing this is because, and you should do this, you should do this yourself, all right? When you're done with this job board, if you will, this dream job vision board, it should guide everything you do with regards to your job search. You should be able to share with other people your board, not necessarily a vision board like this, but you should be able to elaborate for them and to them what you're trying to accomplish, right? Because you're going to need your network to be your sales force, if you will, your feet on the street, so to speak. Okay, so let's go through this, all right, one by one. And again, please don't wait till the end. If I strike a chord with you, pipe in. If you have a comment to make, please do it. This is not gospel. This is my vision of what you should be doing. It's almost critical to help you in your job search. Okay, so first things first, why is this your dream job? Do you like to analyze data? Do you like to build equipment? Do you like to supervise people? Do you like to manage projects, right? A verb and a noun. It's that simple, right? A verb and a noun. Why is this your dream job? Don't share this with anybody, but if you could do something for free, what would you do? All right? If you could do something for free and spend 29 hours a day doing it, what would that be? Hopefully in the effort to make money, right? So that's the why. Why is this your dream job? It's important that people know that. Okay? Next. Who are you on this job? Are you a part of a team? Are you a lone wolf? Are you in charge of people? Are you a director, a manager? Are you on the executive team, a C-level or non-executive? Who are you, right? Be specific. It's important. It will keep you focused. What are the specifics about this dream job that make it different from other jobs that are out there? What are the skills you need? What kind of degrees? Is a bachelor's sufficient? Maybe an associate's. Do you even need a degree? I don't know. Do you need a master's? Do you need a PhD? Any combination thereof. What industry are you targeting? Automotive, finance, I don't know, hospitality, insurance, right? Be specific. Are there any certifications or licenses that are required? If you're in real estate, you're going to need a license, as an example, right? How about salary? Is it a straight salary job, or are there commissions? Are you going to be in sales? Is it 100% commission, or are you going to get a little bit of a salary, a little bit of, right? Be specific. And the reason you're doing this, gang, is because as you're going about your day looking for work, and you're looking for this job ad online, in a newspaper, in a magazine, in a networking group, you're looking for this, you're focusing on it, and it keeps you in line, for lack of a better word. Okay? So far, so good? Okay. Where is this job? We're talking, it's 2022. Are you working from home? Hybrid. Are you working on a farm? You want to raise apples? You want to raise pigs? You're working in the suburbs, in the city? Are you in an office? Are you in a factory? What region are you working in? What country are you working in? Is it time to move? Are you going to move to another country? It's possible. Maybe not. I don't know. But, you know, the world is your oyster. Think. You can imagine whatever you want. You might as well imagine big. What have you got to lose? Okay? Let's see. When are you working on this job? Days, evenings, nights, weekdays, weekends? You're working on holidays, right? Be specific. Write it down. You want to know this stuff. You need to know this stuff. You need to be able to share it with other people, okay? And how are you going to learn about this dream job? You're going to go to company websites for sure. You're going to check out some job boards, definitely. Of course, there's social media sites. LinkedIn comes to mind, right? Indeed, Dice, all those others, right? Networking events like this, right? Make sure you go to networking events. That's where you learn about stuff like this. And of course, personal referrals. Do you know people working at companies where you want to work? I don't know. Think about that, right? You need to have this vision, if you will, I think, puts you in a better spot to look for work, because what happens is, if you don't, then you're all over the place. And if you're all over the place, good luck. Right? I'm not saying you can't get a job. It's hard. It's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough. You got to stay focused. You got to be laser beam focused, right? I can't imagine it not working any other way. Thoughts, comments, anything in the chat, Alan?
No, people have been chiming in without the chat, so nothing extra.
Are they saying nice things about me, at least, hopefully?
They're not saying anything about you. They're just mostly
that's
putting
okay.
their elevator pitch in there.
It's okay. We're almost done, folks. We're almost done. Okay.
Joey, I actually like this this board that you have here.
Okay.
It kind of puts things in a different light, or more kind of like usable, if you will.
How so, Donald?
It's well, because it's such a visual point, if you will, rather than just writing something down in sentences.
Right.
Here it is where, and maybe this is just for me because I'm more of a visual person. It just kind of puts it out there as to, you know, why you're going through this.
Right.
You know, this whole process.
Right.
You know, why is it that you're doing what you're doing? You know, and it may not be, it could be something other than looking for a job. It could be why you're in the job that you're in.
Yeah.
You know, or if you think where you are right now is not your dream, you know, then why not? And you can look at this and say, yeah, this isn't my dream job because because I'm not analyzing data when that's what I want to do.
Joey, I think the board is a visual representation of an old saying that goes something like, if you aim at nothing, you will surely hit it. This gives you all kinds of targets to aim at, and I think is very much a focus point, and you can always look at it. But again, if you aim at nothing, you will surely hit it.
Right. Thank you, Pat. Yeah. So along those lines, right? So vision boards, right? And I encourage you to go online, Google vision boards, and see what other people have done. This is not a typical vision board. This is just text. Okay. A vision board is pictures, right? If you have a dream job in your mind, I encourage you to go online or go look at magazines that show pictures of or scenes that depict your job. Cut them out and put them on a piece of paper or a cardboard, and then every day look at this thing, look at this board, and remind yourself as to what you envision your future to be, right? Create your future. Do it this way. This is not a vision board per se. It's not a great one. If I was grading it, I'd give it a C or a D. There are no pictures, right? But this is the place to start, okay? Your vision board should be visual. It should be pictures. It should be graphic. It should be visual. Right? It should be visual, right? But it should capture what you think your future should be, right? I'm going to quote two famous people, Yogi Berra, and this is kind of what Pat was saying. If you don't know where you're going, how do you know when you get there, right? And B, George Harrison wrote a great song called Any Road. You can find it on YouTube. It's a great song. And in the song, he says, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. Now, okay, I'll buy that. But if I'm looking for work, I don't have the time. I certainly don't have the money. And I don't want to spend the effort taking any road to get to where I want to go. I don't have that luxury. So how do I curtail that? How do I make it easier? I know. I create a vision board like this, and I hone in on what I want to do, right? What I need to get to be an accomplished whatever, fill in the blank, okay? What degrees do I need? What skills do I have to have? Who do I need to know? Who do I need to talk to? Where am I doing? Be focused, because I'm telling you, when you're looking for work, and you know this, I'm not preaching to the choir, you're online and you're getting pinged. Here comes the cat video of the day. Here comes your friends telling you a joke, right? Here comes something bad's happening over in Ukraine, right? Or you're being constantly bombarded and distracted from your job to find your dream job. This vision board, this focusing hopefully will get you there sooner as opposed to later.
Yeah, Joey.
Yes.
My thing that I see in this too is something you haven't mentioned yet. Not only does this seem good for finding a job, but once you're there for a while, to recheck whether or not your job really is it not what you thought it was going to be, and is it time to do something else or go somewhere else because you've discovered some of your criteria of what you want isn't there, because none of us know 100% about the job when you go into the company. You don't get to meet everybody. You don't know whether, you're going to be dealing with somebody who makes your life difficult every day, for instance, that kind of thing. So to me, this is something that I see as not only to look for a job, but to reevaluate where you are.
Right. Good point, Michael. Thank you. Great suggestion. Thank you for sharing. Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's probably going to change, right? Once this is your dream job and you get your dream job, to your point, 2 weeks in, 2 months in, 2 years, like this is not what I thought it was going to be, or I can make it better, right? Whatever, and change it. It's not written in stone. It's flexible. That's all right. I'm all right with that. Great suggestion. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it. Anybody else? We're almost done. Anybody else?
Yeah, Joey, I would say a lot of what resonates with me is that it's being proactive instead of reactive. I think a lot of times job seekers are just reacting, looking, to fill find a position by seeing what's advertised. This is a way of taking charge of your job search and getting what you want instead of just reacting. So I think it's really important to be proactive, and this is a great tool to do that. So thank you for sharing that.
Sure. Thank you, Alan. Anybody else?
I see this as a very structured approach to help clarify, at least my thought process of where I want to end up. And this is really, really helpful. So thank you, Joey.
Great. You're welcome. Great. Okay, let's move on. Like I said, we're almost done. Okay, summary, key takeaways, and then we're almost done. Here's what we talked about, right? Real versus imagined, right? Your mind doesn't know what's real and what's imagined. Remember the apple? Remember the elephant, right? So you might as well imagine craziness. Just go nuts, right? Imagine, but in your nutsness, if that's a word, in your craziness, which is a word, think positive, think upbeat, think best, think this is the ideal. Don't think, woe is me, the world sucks, excuse my French, right? I hate the job market, I hate the politics, I hate the economy, the traffic is driving me crazy, the weather is, I'm going, none of that is irrelevant. It's irrelevant, right? You have no control over that stuff. All you can control is what's in here, right? So you might as well control it in a positive light and think great positive things. Imagine you're the knight, and have I mentioned that you should be considering you're the knight in shining armor once or twice or 10 times, right? That should be who you are, right? Think that. Let them think that you're their knight in shining armor, okay? Think it and then become it, right? But it's not enough to just think it. You got to do something. You got to work towards what you want to become. It doesn't just happen. Please do not sit on your couch and eat bonbons and assume the fetal position and assume that someone's going to give you a job. It's not 1950 anymore, okay? Again, we talked about some of the visionaries, their accomplishments. No reason you can't be part of this list. No reason whatsoever, right? And again, I share with you some of the tools, the affirmations, the role playing, your horoscope, right? Be your own astrologer, right? And of course, the vision board. You're creating your dream job. That's ideal. That, again, like I said, once that's created, then you could share that with people, and then it'll make it easier for them as they're out going about their thing and they hear or see something that may be in line with your dream job. You make it easier for them. Okay? Anything else? What have I missed? What did you learn in the last hour or so that you didn't know an hour ago?
I don't know. It's just so valuable to do this because I make the mistake sometimes of shooting from the hip, and I really needed this. Talk because I'll have an interview next week. Thanks, and I'll be doing a whole lot more practicing than I had planned.
Excellent. Good for you. Congratulations, Karen. Great. Let us know how you make out. All right.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? What else did you learn that you didn't know an hour ago? What are you going to tell? What are you going to tell people who didn't see this? What are you going to tell them? What are you going to share with them?
I think your real versus imagined is so critical. And then, of course, Gary Landry made some comments on that too. But I think that's so powerful that if you visualize, then you believe in yourself more too. And that's really valuable as we're going up the curve here.
Great. Thank you, Karen. Thanks for
If
sharing.
I was going to tell people who, excuse me, didn't get to see this, I'd tell them, go on the PSG website and play the recording several times.
Why is that, Patrick?
Well, certain things take a moment or two to sink in. So for thick people like myself, I may need to watch it twice.
I'm sorry, did you say smart people like you? Is that what you said?
No, well, thank you. I'll take that.
Okay. Okay.
Joe, it was really a great session. The vision board is a illustrated synopsis of a lot of things in the marketing plan. But I thought that business about affirmation was particularly important because you're going to get into an interview where you've got to be your own best advocate and get ready for that. I guess the other thing I would say is the business of hey, take a chance, get out there, put yourself out. What I see in so many of the folks in these sessions is a real reticence to say something that might be risky, but oh, by the way, differentiates you. You're not the same as all these other people. Great session.
Thank you. Okay. Appreciate that, John. Thank you so much.
I'd like to share.
Yes,
I'd like to share something quickly.
Sure.
I appreciate so much this session. In particular, what comes to mind is the fact that, for me anyway, there's a process to this madness. Yes? Just because you are experienced in your field, your respective field, does not necessarily mean that you've already practiced all the necessary tools for the next interview. So sometimes we tend to confuse experience with process. So what this reminds me of is that there's a process and I need to be patient and go through the process. For example, it involves role play. It could involve vision boards. It could involve visualizations, et cetera, et cetera. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for sharing. Appreciate that. Okay.
Joey, one last point. When you spoke about practicing with a friend, ask the question, so on and so forth. I've done that years ago. And the thing I found the most interesting was I could see myself, obviously, on the tape doing the interview or being interviewed and so on and so forth. The thing I had to get used to was, well, yes, I can see it's me. There I am. Whose voice is that? Because the voice you hear coming out of the machine is not the voice you hear in your head when you're practicing it mentally. So it was a unique experience to hear myself. And at that point, or at this point, I think I'll be quiet now.
Okay. Thanks, Patrick. Appreciate your comments. All right. I promised you a couple of...
Joey?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Can I sneak in one more?
Of course.
This is Kathy Krejci. I'm not driving and on the phone, so but this has just been fantastic. And one thing I wanted to share is I have been going after my dream job. I still need to home in on things a little bit more and do some of that practice you talked about. But one thing I experience is almost a sense of embarrassment about it because it feels so ridiculous, and I have to go through that sense. And, when I take a step and actually talk to somebody, I get so much encouragement, but I have to really deal with my own kind of belief, sort of doubt or thinking this is too insane and unachievable.
So thank you, Kathy. So a couple of thoughts come to mind. So, the one person we talk to the most every day, and you alluded to this, Kathy, and others have as well, is ourselves. We talk to ourselves more than we talk to anybody else. And we know, they've done studies, that most of those conversations are negative. That we are doubting ourselves, we are criticizing ourselves, putting ourselves down, when we should be building ourselves up. And there are three types of people in the world, if I may. There are those that make stuff happen, there are those that watch what happens, and then there are those who say, what just happened, right? So imagine a concert or a Broadway play. You got people on stage, actors, musicians, they're making stuff happen, right? Then you got people in the audience, they're just watching, they're passive, they're just being entertained, or they're learning, or whatever the case may be. And then outside this arena or stadium, there are people passing by who are hearing applause, or maybe laughter, maybe even crying. And they're going, what's going on in there? So don't you want to be on stage? Don't you want to be the one making stuff happen? That doesn't happen if you're beating yourself up. Now, I'm not saying it's easy, and I'm just as guilty. I have a lot of negative thoughts that rattle through my brain every day too, every hour. But I try to nip those in the bud because I know they're not helping me. These self-limiting beliefs, they're limiting. They're keeping us down. And like I said before, earlier on, the only thing or one or person that's holding us back is not our parents, it's not the president, it's not our neighbors, it's not the weatherman, it's not the Fed, it's us. We're the ones that are holding us back. And if we would just let go of these chains, man, the stuff that we could accomplish, it'd be phenomenal. And again, I'm just as guilty, right? So here I am telling you what to do, and I'm just as guilty. It's tough. It's really tough. But what have you got to lose? Be positive. Be upbeat. What do you got to lose?
Joey, I'm just curious. In looking at the slides, the background of the slides and your shirt are the same color. Is that coincidental or is that planned?
What a coincidence. I would have never thought that anybody would notice that. Yeah. No, it's definitely planned. Absolutely. Absolutely. You think I've done this? This is not my first rodeo. I've done this before, right? And I'm learning every day, every time I make a presentation. I spend hours on this. I'm going to spend more. When we're done, I'm going to spend more hours on it. There's a lot of stuff I learned that I shouldn't do. There's a lot of things I've done that I'm going to continue to do, right? For me, this is a role play, right? You don't think it is. I think it is. But, I owe it to you to put in the effort and the time and do the research and share with you as quickly as I can ways to get to your next job. And I think visualization is something that we take for granted and don't do on a concerted basis. And putting on an orange shirt with an orange background is not an accident.
So we're seeing you in your presentation shirt. Okay, thank you.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Yeah, so I hate to stop the comments. I think they're important. But I think these recommended views are also important. So let me just go through this and we'll be done, all right? Okay. Typically, when I make my presentations, I suggest books that people should read. But since this is a presentation on visualization, I'm going to recommend some movies. I'm a big movie buff. And one of my top 5 favorite movies is Mary Poppins. And I hope you've all seen it because there's going to be some spoilers here, and I apologize. But there's a scene. The reason I like Mary Poppins, other than the story, but when it comes to looking for work, there's a scene in the movie that I use sometimes. I used to use sometimes when I went to go out and talk to clients and potential prospects. And that's a scene where Mary Poppins, just like this, she's coming in on the breeze, and she's going to land in front of the Banks' home to get ready for an interview. And if you remember in the scene, prior to her showing up, the nannies who were looking for work were all lined up. Do you remember how the kids had Mr. Banks had put an ad in the paper looking for a nanny, and they all show up and they're all waiting in line to be interviewed. But meanwhile, unbeknownst to Mr. Banks, the children had also sent out a message looking for a nanny, and Mary Poppins is responding to their request. So the nannies are lined up waiting to be interviewed by Mr. Banks. And here comes Mary Poppins, and what happens? She effectively, now bear with me, all right? I know this is hokey, but this works for me. As she approaches the home of the Bankses, she effectively blows away the competition. So that when Mr. Banks opens the door and is ready to talk to all the nannies applicants, there's only one applicant, and it's Mary Poppins. And when I saw that, and I thought about the job search, I was like, bang, that's a great visual. I'm suggesting, if you're into it, to do that as well. When you're looking for work, or you're going on an interview, or you're submitting cover letters with your resume, pretend that your letter and cover and resume are the Mary Poppins that are blowing away everybody else in front of you. I know it's hokey, I apologize, but I love movies, and that's like I said, one of my favorite movies, one of my favorite scenes. Okay, next, Romancing the Stone. For those of you that have seen Romancing the Stone, you know what I'm talking about here. It's the ultimate vision board story. If you haven't seen Romancing the Stone, now that you've seen this presentation, watch Romancing the Stone with Michael Douglas and Kathleen Turner, and tell me when you're done watching it, send me a text or call me and tell me you don't see the same thing I saw in this movie. It's a great visualization of how visualizing your future is so critical if you want to succeed and attain it. All right.
So it's called Romancing the Stone?
Romancing the Stone. It came out, I guess, in the 80s, I think. And also Danny DeVito has a supporting role in it as well. It's Michael Douglas and Kathleen Turner. Okay.
Thank you.
I don't want to give away the ending because if you haven't seen
Right.
it, I'm going to ruin it for you.
Okay.
Okay. And then the last one, you all know this movie, Wizard of Oz. Again, one of my top 10. What's great about this movie with regards to looking for work and visualization? You remember what the wizard said to Dorothy at the end of the movie? When she wanted to go home and she just wanted to be home. She missed being home. He said to her, "You've always had the power. All you got to do is close your eyes."
Mm.
That's all you got to do. Is close your eyes and repeat after me, "There's no place like home." And it's a great visualization. And lo and behold, she arrives at home. Does it always happen? I don't know. Probably not. But you know what? What have you got to lose? Close your eyes, imagine where you're going, and maybe you'll get there. It may not take a day. It may take a little longer. It probably will. But what have you got to lose? You got nothing to lose by creating your future, by closing your eyes and visualizing it. That's my story. So if you want to reach out to me, you want to talk to me more about this offline, there's different ways you can reach me. My email, I got a website, it's under construction, so there may be some dated stuff on there. There's my phone number, that's my cell. You're welcome to contact me. I'm also on LinkedIn. I think I'm the only Joey Himelfarb there. I enjoy doing this stuff. I hope you as well. And again, if you have any thoughts or comments and you want to share with us now, that's great. If you want to do it later on privately, I'm open to that as well. And with that, I will give the reins back over to Alan. Thank you.
Joey, thanks so much. That was just phenomenal.
Thank you.
Just the the vision board I thought was really very powerful. Not something I had thought about in the past, but I think this is really a part of the job search that people don't think about a lot or don't focus on. Just the whole mental aspect of job searching and visualizing how powerful it is. And, great examples, that you gave with Arnold Schwarzenegger and President Kennedy and just your own personal experiences as well, too. So this was really an excellent presentation.
Thank you.
And we really thank you so much for coming and doing it. So,
my pleasure.
So to wrap up the meeting, I wanted to give you all an idea of what's coming up with our schedule. Next Friday, April 15th, we're going to have Alex Freud come in and speak. He's another one of our great supporters of the PSG group. His talk is going to be, do you understand the hiring manager? Alex has a lot of experience helping people with interview prep, so understanding and having an idea of what the hiring manager is and is looking for is really very important to your job search. Then the following week, April 22nd, we're going to have Madeline Elmgren in. She was here in December. We did a career panel. I was on that one as well. And she's going to do a talk about value proposition. That's always important to discuss what you bring to the table, why you are the best, and you're the one that, you're the Mary Poppins for that company. The other groups that wanted to mention some of their meetings coming up. The Breakfast Club of New Jersey, they're having a meeting tomorrow. It's bright and early at 8 o'clock, and it's a virtual meeting similar to ours. And Glenn Posh is going to be the speaker. This topic is Beyond the Resume, Share Your Skills and Yourself. Glenn spoke here a number of times before. He's also a very dynamic speaker, so I'm sure that's going to be a great presentation as well. And then a couple of our sister groups that mentioned their PSG of Central New Jersey. They meet on Wednesday and Mondays at 10:30 a.m. and it's psgnj.biz is their website to get the link. And then PSG of Morris County, our other sister PSG group, psgmc.org. They meet every Wednesday at 9:30. So if you have any questions about that, I see John Sampson's on our call. He can fill you in with that as well too. So I wanted to thank everybody again for coming, and especially to Joey for a great presentation. As Pat was saying, I think this is one you can definitely watch more than once and get something out of it. And hopefully people that weren't able to make the meeting today will have the opportunity to do that. So thanks again, everybody. And I'm going to turn off the recording, and we can stick around for a little while if people want to talk and chat about anything. Joey, you're welcome to stay too if you have an opportunity to do that.
I'm happy to stay. Sure, no problem.
Thanks everybody for coming, and take care. Bye-bye.